Hi, Phil here. You're about to listen to a replay of a popular episode. If you've listened to all the episodes of this podcast, don't worry because replays are not common. However, revisiting episodes is not a bad thing. I think this is because of two reasons. First, we are forgetful beings. Too many times I've encountered a situation in which I've already learned a new way only to find myself reacting in an old way. And secondly, we are constantly evolving and growing beings. This is a very beautiful thing and is embraced well when we encounter familiar things with new eyes. Thanks and enjoy. Hey gals and guys, it's your host Phil Larson, and this is your Motivational High Five. On control. Let's do this. Welcome to this short podcast show where we look at life and we try to interpret things and let on different ways of thinking into our lives so that we can better approach life with a more holistic view, with other ways of figuring things out. And recording a podcast about the things I'm learning in my life is really an exercise of giving up some control, of letting some of this stuff come out of my head and to look at it and to prod at it and invite other voices in on things, because I know I don't have everything right, and I need your voice in my life as well, because we enjoy control over our own lives. We like to have control over the direction things are taking, and we really think and often believe this illusion that we have complete control over our lives, but we get easy reminders that life is too complex than that. We don't have control over a lot, and a lot of these come from external factors like losing a job or someone getting angry with you, or getting into a car wreck, or choking on a mozzarella cheese stick, like that happened to me when I was really young, rising gas prices, powerful politicians, terrorist attacks, and destructive hurricanes. These are all reminders that we are not in control. And these are good things to accept, but also hard things to accept, because often we combat the things that are out of control by trying to gain control, by trying to get control, getting things under control. And we seek to get things under control, often by doing things that are over controlling. We become harder workers, or we support more extreme candidates in more extreme ways, or we put things out of sight and out of mind, which really that is an act of over-controlling, because it takes work to power through and to not let yourself feel the gravity of situations and to ignore the outcries of the oppressed. And when we do this really weird thing of over-controlling by not addressing things, these external factors, then they become these internal factors of anxiety and depression. And we get these unrealistic views of our own self-worth, or we get elevated blood pressure, or crippling panic attacks, or we get compulsive thoughts. Our way to over-control sometimes is that to white knuckle, to power through, to suppress emotion. And what I've been finding in my own life is that just doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. And I think about when I was learning to ride a bike, and I'm fortunate to have a dad who had taught me to ride a bike, but in order to gain control over a bike without training wheels, you had to lose some control. You had to take away the training wheels. And it would have been much harder to learn to ride a bike on my own without any sort of release of control. But I had to let my dad put his hand on the back of my bike seat and stable it until I got the feeling and got the confidence and got the control of what it meant to ride a bike without training wheels. And in order to gain that control, I had to give up some control. One of the listeners of this show has emailed me and talked about her panic attacks and how even just listening to this podcast has helped her in that, along with other things that she's doing. And I can relate. For a while, for about 2 months, I would have panic attacks once a day. I would wake up to having a panic attack. And there's nothing that's more of a reminder of you not being in control than a panic attack. And you can't understand or figure out why this is happening. And I wanted to figure it out for myself. I kept asking the question, why is this happening to me? But I didn't really do anything to let anyone else in. And I felt off. I felt really weird. I didn't realize until afterwards that my whole body was tense and I had these prickly feelings up and down my entire body, and it was weird. And my wife said, "Why don't you go see a doctor?" One of the things that's out of my control that I have is high blood pressure. And when I went and saw the doctor and I told him the symptoms, he said, "I have high blood pressure as well. And the medication you're using is from decades ago. The one I'll prescribe to you now solves a lot of those symptoms." And I made the switch and I let go of control to allow someone with expertise who could help me regain some control in my life. But what that earlier medication did was it did curb some anxiety that this new medication didn't do. So I had to let some anxiety medication be a part of my new normal. And my personal doctor really helped me get to that point and really see hey, this is my life now and it's okay. And this is what it takes to get back to some normalcy. And yet, even still, that wasn't enough. But I was on my way. And through some good counsel with a professional and with some friends and seeking out help outside of myself, giving up control, I have begun to regain control in my life. You see, healthy control involves balance through realistic knowledge of our limitations. Inviting others in the process of our lives is how we gain healthy control. By giving up control, we gain some control. And a quote that I think works well here is one by Winston Churchill. "Sometimes it is not enough to do our best. Sometimes we must do what is required." And we often think we are just good enough. We have the ability to do our best to regain control, but sometimes no, that is not enough. Sometimes what is required is what we must do. And what is required is to maybe give up some control and let other people be a part of our lives and our struggles. There's real humility in that, but real wisdom. If you're new to the show, welcome. I don't want to sugarcoat life. I've seen that and really have believed sugar-coated life for a long time, and it has done me no good. Life is hard, and to do it on our own is to try to control it on our own. And you will find that if you're not having struggles now, it'll flare up. Things do flare up. Why? Because the truth wants to be free. And if we're not willing to address the external things, well, they will flare up in internal ways. And so the way we do that in every episode is at the end of the episode, we find a reflection of ourselves, or we make a commitment right now to go back and find a reflection of ourselves at a better time in the day. And we speak life into our lives as we look into ourselves. And this is a proactive approach. As we begin to tell ourselves these things, we begin to believe them. And neuroscience supports this. So will you, after finding a reflection of yourself, say this to yourself? Through the loosening of control, I can achieve healthy balance and find the control I seek. Some of these episodes you'll find pair nicely with another episode. For instance, this one pairs nicely with episode 23 on surrender. Surrender and control do go hand in hand. And ultimately, that is the balance we are talking about. It is not a sign of weakness to ask for help. No, it is a sign of strength. Historically, humans have survived by relying on each other. You cannot do it alone. To me, that is a comfort. Are you going to go for it? That is a decision you have to make, because it starts with you.